take a look at that line right there. You see that? Not speculative. Sea surface temperature anomalies from the 1st to the 29th of June. We have more grim stuff to talk about. Largest U.S. power grid, PJM, escalates emergency actions to avoid blackouts. We basically haven't added any power production to the grid in decades because why would we build a country? Who cares? And as a consequence now, largest U.S. power grid operator, PJM, said on Friday, said it was under a federal alert to cut electricity consumption across its territory as it battled generator outages, massive overloading on its transmission lines, and a surge in air conditioning use. Our grids are just going to straight up fail. At least that's the direction that we're heading in. I saw Mamdani get like mega giga ratioed on Twitter because he said, make sure to keep your air conditioner set to this. We need to not overstrain the grid. And all the conservatives were like, I'm going to set my AC to 42 degrees. 6-7, ha. The federal government also jumped down his throat for this, which was particularly funny because Mamdani was just repeating federal government guidelines. And in response to the federal government finding that out, they deleted it. In the past hour, the Trump administration has deleted their webpage that recommended setting thermostats to between 75 to 78 during heat waves and 85 if you're not home after the GOP learned Mamdani was urging New Yorkers to follow White House guidance. And here's the page now. Ruled by literal devils? Yeah, it's over. I'm sorry. I know it's trite. I know it's a little... I know. But it's still true. Still true. Sorry. Nikki Haley tweet. Look at the comments. Yeah, I saw this one. Nikki Haley was dogging on Mamdani for saying this. But Nikki Haley had made the exact same announcement back in 2015. If we're to apply this in a Marxist context, the propagandists have drank their own bathwater. Wait, their own bathwater? I think I might be mixing metaphors a little bit. I'm sorry. They've drank their own Kool-Aid. They something thrown out with a bathwater, gamer girl bathwater. My mind's in the gutter right now. Clearly, they've drank their own Kool-Aid is what I was meaning to say. It used to be the job of conservatives and reactionaries in media was to advance the interests of capital by distracting you with culture war bullshit. That was the point. That was the whole reason they existed. But unfortunately, we've had kind of, I think in a way you could almost call it like an in real life model collapse. You know what I mean? You know how AI algorithms can experience model collapse where they start basing their outputs off of their own inputs and they eventually get less comprehensible because they're just they're self-referencing? It's kind of like that, except with real humans and propaganda, where you are so concerned with following your own line that you stop paying attention to even the barest vestiges of what's necessary to keep the lights on. Yeah, you're cannibalizing your own data, basically. The funny thing is that Nikki Haley was meant to be the moderate answer to Trump. Remember Nikki Haley was supposed to be like the less crazy non-MAGA alternative within the Republican Party. But it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, none of them believe in anything, even the supposedly moderate ones. They're all just pitching different rhetorical lines to the same outcome, which is everyone everywhere getting raped to death by capital. They don't believe in anything. Even the ones that appear to be moderate are just trying on a different hat. Really fascinating stuff. Really, really fascinating. No longer able to provide expected energy requirements, PJM Emergency Procedures website. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. PJM said it told utilities to reduce electricity to customers who are under contract. PJM serves 6-7 million people. 67 million! Holy shit, I didn't realize there was a single power grid operator that served that many people. I thought it was broken up more than that. Okay, 67 million people. Spot wholesale electricity prices in Northern Virginia, home to the largest collection of data centers in the world, have surged beyond $2,000 per megawatt hour this week. And that's the reason why we haven't added new energy to the grid, because the more scarce it is, the more the price goes up during a bidding war. Now, whenever electricity is scarce, trust me, the power companies love this. It costs the power companies the same amount to produce and deliver that electricity to your house. You're just paying more because everyone's bidding for it while it's scarce. Isn't that like 100 times normal? Well, actually more than 100. No. Yeah, about 50 times. That compares to about $40 per megawatt hour when PJM is not in distress. So that's cool. Oh, nuts. I've talked about PG&E many times, many, many times. No, utilities are actually pretty regulated except Texas. Doesn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about. The regulations are in line in order to maximize the profit seeking of these companies, the rent seeking. Kind of like how Amtrak is regulated, but the services for Amtrak have like self-sabotaged in an effort to make sure that they're only maintaining the most profitable lines. Pretty nasty. That's not true in all the states. I mean, while we're on the topic, I have seen some models for projected ocean temperatures for this El Nino that are getting global sea surface temperatures. Take a look at that line right there. You see that? Not speculative. Sea surface temperature anomalies from the 1st to the 29th of June. Oh, sorry, yeah. My bad. That's what we got it for. No, it's actually very, very bad. But again, I'm somewhat self-conscious on this because it makes me feel like, well, do people even is everyone reading this just as like, oh, I've been hearing about climate change my entire life and life is still livable. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this is a sentiment that is expressed outwardly among conservatives, but among non-conservatives, people think it but don't say it. You know what I mean? This is an aggregate of projected sea surface temperature anomalies over the next few months that are meant to chart what we expect to see from this El Nino. And as you can see, I said before that the problem with this chart is that they didn't make it big enough, and that was because at the time, the top of the chart was constrained to 3.5 degrees Celsius. In the few days since I showed that to you guys, we're now looking at projections that extend above the 4 degrees Celsius line. You might notice that the mean, the average projection here touches the 4 degrees Celsius anomaly mark. So that isn't even just like anomalously high projections. The average projection now reaches just outside of this chart produced by the NOAA. Yeah, NOAA. It's going to be a real one. I don't care as long as coal and gas companies are making profit. What a rarity these days. A good faith disagreement from chat. I might disagree with your principles, but at least you're morally I'm sorry, I'm channeling like debate culture circa 2021. I'm glad we could have a good faith discussion on the subject. Peak hurricane season. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's quite bad. It's only been getting worse too. I mean, every time I see this chart from the NOAA, the projection goes up higher and higher and higher. Yeah. So our energy grid is dying, and this. Sorry. Let me try to think of like an interesting way to frame this information. Maybe we should read this article on the subject a little bit, huh? When will they stretch the y-axis? Dog, they've already stretched the y-axis. We're looking at the post-y-axis stretching. Here's that chart extended in the replies. Holy shit, one of these models goes up to 5 degrees almost. 5 degrees anomalous Celsius. Anomalously high temperatures, 5 degrees Celsius. This could cause a monsoon failure in India and create a food crisis, the likes of which we've never seen. Yeah, I don't want to get like too crazy with it because I don't want to be. I want to make it clear that like what I'm describing right now is this is Kelvin. Okay, well that's Celsius, but with a different y-axis. What I'm describing right now is what I perceive to be a worst case scenario. So I'm not saying that what I'm about to say right now is likely. I'm saying that it's a possibility. But I think there is a possibility that as a consequence of this El Nino and what happens because of it, we see an excess mortality rate in the billions. I'm not saying that's guaranteed to happen. I'm not even saying it's likely, but I think that's within the upper bounds. Our food web is a lot more fragile than people want to give it credit for, I guess. Like, I've been seeing articles, it would really only take like 1 or 2 consecutive bad years of famine or a couple of regions of the world that have gotten like really, really bad crop outcomes to just like significantly reduce the human population, which is, yeah, over the next 3 to 4 years. What I mean is like the outcome because of this El Nino. Like it might take years to develop from that point, but this El Nino might produce a series of like catastrophic supply failures, really bad harvests, monsoons, so on and so forth, that lead to an excess mortality in like the some number in excess of 1 billion. I'm not saying it's guaranteed. I think it's possible. I live in the Caribbean. Am I going to die? I mean, eventually, yeah. June, global sea surface temperatures have climbed to record highs, prompting concerns over extreme weather, flooding, sea level rise, and stress to global ocean ecosystems. Current conditions could indicate the beginning of a new phase leading once more to uncharted territory. Temperature records will continue to build in the coming months. The record temperature was set in June 21st, beating the record temp set in 2023 and 2024. Not too much information in this article. All right, video, give us a peek. I'm no climate expert. I'm not a meteorologist.
A super El Nino is forming in the Pacific Ocean right now. You've probably seen this all over the news, TikTok, Facebook, and every weather page that you follow. People are saying that this thing could change hurricane season, flip our winter, and rewire the weather across the entire globe. But is it actually super yet? And does this mean that hurricane season will actually be any different? And more importantly, what does this mean for your backyard? In this video, we're going to separate the hype from the real forecast and show you exactly what could happen this season. So let's get right into it. So first, let's actually define what El Nino even is. Okay, so in plain English, it's when unusually warm water builds up in the central and eastern tropical Pacific. And that warm water changes where the biggest tropical thunderstorms actually fire up. We refer to this broader ocean and atmosphere pattern as ENSO, the El Nino Southern Oscillation. The El Nino part is the part that happens in the ocean, and the southern...
There's a point in that article that measures a sea temperature variance of 8 degrees Celsius in the Mediterranean. I actually showed that on stream, last stream, yeah. At some points in the Mediterranean, temperatures in June were up to 8 degrees Celsius higher than average for that period for 1990 to 2020. So that's 8 degrees Celsius higher than the average for a post-industrial period too. Not even like compared to 150 years ago or whatever, but for like a time when climate change was still very much happening.
Oscillation is the part...
Okay, there's a lot of fancy pants shit here in this data. Let me see if I can't get to any more. I don't want to content steal everything.
Here's what that's looked like in some past years, okay? If you're in California, you probably have heard about the historically strong El Nino that we had back in 1997, especially to save the city by city snow numbers for the full winter outlook, which you can't expect soon. But for now, just know that the big pattern looks like it's going to be wet and stormy south, milder north, and there's going to be an ice wild card in the northeast. So how confident are we in all of this? I'm going to give it to you straight because the internet is melting down right now, at least on my algorithms. A lot of people are talking about this El Nino thing. The occurrence part is rock solid, okay? As of June 11th, NOAA gives a 100% chance of an El Nino sticking around through 2026 and even into the start of 2027. That part is locked in. We're definitely going into El Nino. And the strength forecast just took a massive jump. They previously had a very strong event, that super level everybody's been yelling about, at a roughly 1 in 3 chance. But now the probability has rocketed up to 63%, nearly doubling in likelihood. That's a
given like the rate at which our projections are increasing in severity as well. It's just like, yeah, it's not just an increase in whether we're going to get it, but how bad it's going to be when it does happen. The NOAA is very conservative. It's basically a 100% IMO. As far as I'm concerned, I'm one of the very few content creators that has been doing his due diligence and being honest to you guys about how bad things are going to get. The rice and beans mantra, I understand it's a big meme. I'm just saying, like, in my mind, like right now, a lot of the people watching this right now will be dead in the next 5 years because of this. Not mostly Americans, but if you're watching this from the developing world, and I do have a lot of viewers from the developing world, there is a decent chance, like in my head. So what I'm trying to do is reduce that number to as low, as close to 0 as possible. That's quite a claim. Can you understand, can you sympathize with my perspective on this a little bit? It's a little bit weird. Maybe every, like, larger figure feels this way, not just like news, but like if you're a celebrity, you look out at a crowd and you're thinking like, wow, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of like data. You know what I mean? A lot of people watch me. On average per month, I get some number in excess of 1 million unique viewers. And I think, you know, I can see what countries you're from, average age. I see analytics data. And like, you know, it's a little bit grim, but it's true. We're going to be, people in chat are going to be like, hi, I've been watching you from India since 2021 and my village is gone. It's not racist for me to say village, right? I meant like in a poorer area. I know not every Indian lives in a village, but you understand what I mean, right? Like we have chatters from Lebanon. We've had chatters from Gaza, chatters in Egypt. This stuff happens, right? And it's a little bit difficult sometimes, especially when you cover news like this, to not think of the breadth of your audience in the context of an actuarial table. And I personally would like it very, very much if you could all engage in a bit of due diligence yourself and take care of yourselves and prepare for the worst. You know what I mean? I understand it's grim. I'm like, oh, you're going to die, but I want you to not die is the thing, which is why I talk about it.